As part of their new order for Europe, the Nazis proclaimed that Aryans, or Germanic peoples, were a master race. They claimed that Jews and other non-Aryan peoples were inferior. This racist message would eventually lead to the Holocaust, the mass slaughter of civilians, especially Jews. Hitler believed that the survival of his empire depended on maintaining the purity of the Aryan race. To protect racial purity, the Nazis not only had to eliminate the Jews, but also other races, nationalities, or groups they viewed as inferior or as subhumans. These included gypsies, Poles, Russians, homosexuals, the insane, the disabled, and the incurably ill. Although all these groups were persecuted by the Nazis, they focused much of their attention on the Jews. In the 1920s and 1930s, Nazi propaganda started as an ugly campaign of anti-Semitism. It eventually flared into persecution across Germany. Hitler knowingly tapped into a hatred for Jews that had deep roots in European history. For generations, many Germans, along with other Europeans, had targeted Jews as the cause of their failures. The Nazis even blamed Jews for Germany's defeat in World War I and for its economic problems after that war. In 1933, the Nazis made persecution a government policy. They first passed laws forbidding Jews to hold public office. Then, in 1935, the Nuremberg Laws deprived Jews of their rights to German citizenship, jobs, and property. To make it easier for the Nazis to identify them, Jews had to wear a bright yellow star attached to their clothing. Legal persecution turned to physical violence in 1938. In November of that year, Nazi leaders exploited a story about the murder of a German official in Paris by an angry Jewish teenager to launch a violent attack against the Jews in Germany. Beginning on November 9th, Nazi stormtroopers attacked Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues across Germany and murdered around 100 Jews. The event became known as Kristallnacht, or Night of Broken Glass, because of the many shattered windows and shops as a result of the violence. An American living in the German city of Leipzig described the chaos. Jewish shop windows by the hundreds were systematically smashed. The main streets of the city were a positive litter of shattered plate glass. A young Jewish teenager watched helplessly as Nazis attacked his parents, later described what he saw that night. All the things for which my parents had worked for 18 long years were destroyed in less than 10 minutes. Piles of valuable glasses, expensive furniture, linens. In short, everything was destroyed. The Nazis left us, yelling, "Don't try to leave this house. We'll soon be back again and take you to a concentration camp to be shot." Kristallnacht marked a major step up in the Nazi policy of Jewish persecution. The future for Jews in Germany looked grim. After Kristallnacht, some Jews realized that violence against them was bound to increase. By the end of 1939, a number of Jews in Germany had fled for safety to other countries. Many of them, however, were unable or unwilling to leave for financial or family reasons and remained in Germany. At first, Hitler favored emigration as a solution to what he called the Jewish problem in Germany. Getting other countries to admit Germany's Jews became a problem, however. Stuck deep in the economic problems of the Great Depression, most countries were not willing to accept refugees. Anti-Semitism also played a major role in the decision of many countries to not accept Jewish refugees. Germany's foreign minister observed, "We all want to get rid of our Jews. The difficulty is that no country wishes to receive them." France had admitted 25,000 Jewish refugees and wanted no more. The British, who had accepted 80,000 Jews, worried about fueling anti-Semitism if that number increased. Some 40,000 Jews found homes in Latin America, but that region had closed its doors by the end of 1938. The United States took in around 100,000 refugees, including such prominent individuals as German scientist Albert Einstein. Many Americans, however, wanted U.S. doors closed. When Hitler found that he could not get rid of Jews through emigration, he put another part of his plan into effect. Hitler ordered Jews in all countries under his control to be moved into certain cities. In those cities, they were herded into dismal, overcrowded ghettos, or segregated Jewish areas. The Nazis then sealed off the ghettos with barbed wire and stone walls. They wanted the Jews inside to starve or die from disease. Even under these horrible conditions, the Jews hung on. Some formed resistance organizations within the ghettos. They smuggled in food and other needed items. In the midst of the chaos, Jews also struggled to keep their traditions. Ghetto theaters produced plays and concerts. Teachers taught lessons in secret schools. Scholars kept records so that one day people would find out the truth. Hitler soon grew impatient waiting for Jews to die from starvation or disease in the ghettos. He decided to take more direct action. His plan was called the Final Solution. It was actually a program of genocide, the systematic killing of an entire people. As Nazi armies swept across Eastern Europe, Hitler sent SS units from town to town to hunt Jews down. The SS was Hitler's elite security force. Working with thousands of collaborators in Germany and conquered territories, the SS rounded up Jews and took them to isolated spots. They then shot their prisoners, which included men, women, and children, and dumped the bodies in pits that served as crude graves. Jews in communities not reached by the killing squads were rounded up and taken to concentration camps, or slave labor prisons. These camps were located mainly in Germany and Poland. Later, Nazis built camps in other countries they occupied. Hitler hoped that the horrible conditions in the camps would speed the total elimination of the Jews. The prisoners worked 7 days a week as slaves for the SS or for German businesses. Guards severely beat or killed their prisoners for not working fast enough. With meals of thin soup, a scrap of bread, and potato peelings, most prisoners lost 50 pounds the first month. Hunger was so intense, recalled one survivor, that if a bit of soup spilled over, prisoners would dig their spoons into the mud and stuff the mess into their mouths. The Final Solution officially reached its final stage in early 1942. Although the SS had put the first pieces in place in late 1941, the program was officially spelled out in January 1942 at a secret meeting in Wannsee, a suburb of Berlin. The Wannsee Conference, as it came to be known, was an important event. At that meeting, Reinhard Heydrich, the head of the SS intelligence service, stated that Jews would be eliminated through a series of special camps. The extermination camps built by the Nazis as part of the Final Solution were equipped with gas chambers for mass murder. The Nazis built the first 6 death camps in Poland. The first, Chalmno, began operating in late 1941. The huge gas chambers in the camps could kill as many as 6,000 human beings in a day. The largest and most horrible death camp was Auschwitz, located in Poland. When prisoners arrived in Auschwitz, they paraded before a committee of SS doctors. With a wave of the hand, these doctors separated the strong from the weak, who would die that day. Those chosen to die, which were mostly women, young children, the elderly, and the sick, were told to undress for a shower. They were led into a chamber with fake shower heads, and the doors closed. The prisoners were then poisoned with cyanide gas that poured from the shower heads. Later, the Nazis installed crematoriums, or ovens, to burn the bodies. As the chart on this slide shows, the loss of life among Jews during the Holocaust was staggering. In Poland, which had the largest Jewish population in Europe, around 3 million Jews were murdered by the Nazis. Only 10% of Poland's Jewish population survived. In the Soviet Union, almost half the Jews, about 1.2 million, were killed by the Nazis. Almost all the Jews in Germany, about 200,000 out of a population of around 240,000, were murdered by the Nazis over the course of the war. In total, scholars estimate that over 6 million Jews perished as a result of Nazi persecution. Millions more people from other groups were also killed by the Nazis. Fewer than 4 million European Jews survived the horrors of the Holocaust. Some survived because they had help from non-Jewish people who were opposed to the Nazis' treatment of the Jews. Swedish businessman Raoul Wallenberg and Protestant religious thinker Dietrich Bonhoeffer are just 2 examples of Christians who risked their lives to oppose Hitler's policies. These courageous individuals hid Jews or helped them escape to neutral countries, such as Switzerland or Sweden. The Jews who survived the camps were changed forever by what they had seen and experienced. For Elie Wiesel, 15 years old when he entered Auschwitz, the light had gone out. Never shall I forget the little faces of the children, whose bodies I saw turned into wreaths of smoke beneath a silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul, and turned my dreams to dust. Never.